That's no real difference. Dear Ajahn, why do people who have NDE, that's near-death experiences, floating out of your body and being able to see interesting things, why do people who have NDE often say they are not fearful of death anymore? Why do they see bright lights and experience unconditional love and practice meditation after an NDE? That is so easy to understand. Number one is, this is what happens when you die. Your body stops, your five senses vanish, floating out of your body. That's what will happen when you really do die. So NDEs are just rehearsals, like practice sessions. So you know what's going to happen when you really do die. And so, number one, people who have NDEs always report it's a very pleasant experience. And the story I keep telling, it was on a documentary from the BBC. This English lady died on the operating table, floated out of her body, and was having such a wonderful time, being out of the body in an NDE, that when she met this spirit who told her, no, your time is not up, you have to go back, she refused. She said, I'm not going back, I'm staying here. And the spirit said, but you have to go back. And she said, no way. And they had this big argument on the NDE plane. And she absolutely refused to go back to the old sick body until, obviously she went back, that's why she could be interviewed, until she said the spirit somehow got hold of her and threw her back into her body against her will. And then when she got to that point in the interview, she screwed up her face and she was full of rage. She said, when I die next time, really die, I'm going to find that spirit and you wouldn't believe what I'm going to do to him. I'm going to bash him up, I'm going to scold him. What he did to me, sending me back to this old sick body, and I was just having such a lovely time when I'm dead. And I like telling that story because it shows you that, after you get past the death experience, the rest is very beautiful. Dying is the problem. Being dead is wonderful. So that's what, and I'm being quite accurate there. The process of dying can be very uncomfortable, but once you get past that point and you're dead, ooh, you're having a great time. So that is why that people who have those experiences, they're not afraid of death. They'd always be afraid of dying, but not of death. Why do they see bright lights and experience unconditional love? Because once the five senses disappear, and people see that light, this is what happens in meditation. It's the nimitta, which I keep talking about. So everyone will see the nimitta sooner or later. If you're not when you're meditating, at least when you're dead. So you're going to see it sooner or later, so don't worry. And so when you're meditating, I was saying everything gets very still and your five senses, they vanish. You can't see, you can't hear. Even if somebody shouted, you won't be able to hear them. And then you can't feel your body anymore, they can pick you up. If you get into these jhanas, just and it's a time for you to go back to Switzerland, we'll just put you in the aircraft and you won't know you're in the aircraft, and when you come to, you'll be back in Switzerland again. Easy, you wouldn't even know anything about it. That's true, you can't feel anything. But you're perfectly healthy, perfectly aware, perfectly safe. So that's actually what happens, your five senses disappear. When you get into these deep meditation states, five senses disappear and see this beautiful light in your mind. Exactly the same light you see when you die. And if you can manage to get into that light, you get into the jhana realms. And when you're in the jhana realms, there's this incredible bliss. And what really fascinates me is just the way that people describe that bliss, of the jhana states. And in the first jhana, often they describe it as pure love. Because ecstasy and pure love, when you're totally accepted, there's nothing wrong with you. It really is good enough. There's no criticism or judgment on you anymore. That's what people experience in these, when they merge into this beautiful light, in an NDE, or if they do it in meditation. So this, you can experience all this right here without having to die. It's much more convenient because it doesn't scare the hell out of your relations. You know, if you're in an operating table and you lose your heartbeat and your brain starts to stop working, people get very concerned. But here on a meditation retreat, you can do that with perfect safety. So it's exactly the same. So I often describe that when you do meditation in this style, it is learning how to die. This is dying lessons. Dying 101, otherwise known as Ajahn Brahm's retreat. Are you scared? No, it's wonderful to let go of this body.